Hi, and welcome back to the Butler Pantry 350 Saugatuck Club series of videos. And today we have with us Les Doss with Terre, Rouge wineries under the Terre foothills. Les, you want to show them where you're located on here?
Yes, we're on the edge of Eastern California, right on the Nevada border. So not a part of coastal California, the more traditional wine regions that most of you probably know. This is one of the older wine regions in California that's based in the area around where Gold Rush happened in California back in the 1840s. So way up in the mountains at high elevation.
So when I first ran across Terre Rouge, I called my friends out in California. I said, have you ever heard of this winery? And they were so excited. They said, these wines are fantastic and they're reasonable. So I immediately asked our rep to send me some. We tried them. I said, wow, you can't beat these wines. You can't beat their prices. And they are very special because they also managed, you can have old vintages where you open them up and they taste great. So we're gonna, Les is gonna walk us through some wines. We're gonna try some wines here, and he's gonna tell us about them, and we're all gonna sample them. So we got our crew here who's gonna bring their glasses up here as we're pouring.
Excellent. Well, we're going to start with our V&A, but I want to also just kind of give a little bit of a history lesson about the winery too. So go ahead and pour while I'm doing it.
Great.
So we are a historic winery up in the Sierra foothills. We were just talking about. If you can't picture the Sierra foothills in your head, we're about an hour south of Lake Tahoe and about 2 hours north of Yosemite National Park. We're about 1 hour due east of Sacramento and about 2.5 hours away from Napa Valley. So again, way over on the Nevada border up in high elevation. So we work from about 1,200 feet at the lowest up to 3,200 feet, which are some of the highest vineyards in California. And when you have mountain viticulture, you have a different type of structure in the wines, and they sort of demand aging that out. Mountain viticulture gives you really high acidity and high tannins in the wine, and I would almost say aggressive tannins. So you have to kind of bottle age that and soften it over time. So we're one of the handful of wineries in California that takes the time and care to do élevage, or raising the wines. And the last piece of élevage is the bottle aging component of it. It's very expensive. Most wineries won't do that in California because of the great expense of it, but our winemaker and owner, Bill Easton, has always held on to his wines for a serious amount of time to kind of soften the edge of all that structure. So his gift to the world of wine has always been that when you sit down and have the wine tonight at dinner, it's fully ready to drink. And that's one thing that a lot of wines in the world are not. You have to age it yourself. We're doing all the heavy lifting and holding the wines back and releasing them when we feel like, or at least when Bill Easton feels like the wines are truly ready to drink, and they're much better for it. And the economics of our area make the wines actually fairly reasonable as California wines go. Coastal California is a bit more expensive to make the wines. The land prices are quite a bit more expensive. But up in the Sierra foothills, the pricing's a little lighter than that, so it's reflected in all the pricing. So one of the great hidden gems in California is the Sierra foothills. So our first one that we're going to try is our Viognier. So we even bottle age our white wines up there, and the reason we do that is because Viognier and a couple of sister white grapes from the Rhone Valley natively, Grenache Blanc, Roussanne, another one's called Marsanne, they all are a little different in that their structure is a little larger. They're almost like red wine grapes, but in white wine clothing. They're very chewy and textural, and they go through this really long closed phase. And what I mean by that is after you bottle the wine, if you went back to it a year later, the wine's just not really showing well. It's really kind of shut down on itself. And that closed phase can last for several years. And you have to be patient with grapes like Viognier, Marsanne, Roussanne, and Grenache Blanc. It's usually 3, 4, 5 years a bottle age that brings out complexity in Viognier. When it wakes up, like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, so it's showing complexity and dimensionality you'd never have otherwise. So patience is key with these grape varieties. So we age our white Rhones anywhere from about 3 to 8 years before we release it. And when I'm saying Rhones, I mean Rhone style. We're obviously in California, but we make Rhone style wines out of Rhone grapes that are native to the Rhone Valley, and Viognier is one of those. So Viognier is a low acid grape. It struggles with acidity. You want to do everything in your power to hold on to some of it. So you plant it up high at elevation, it holds on to a good amount of acidity. So this is grown to 2,500 feet. And I know you're about to ask a question.
I am. And what year is this?
This is 2017, and which is our current vintage. We actually just moved into 18 recently, but 17 is in a perfect spot. So we usually bottle age the Viognier right around 4 or 5 years before a release. Some years 3 years, but this one's in a beautiful spot right now, starting to open up and show all that complexity.
How old is Terre Rouge? How old is
The winery was started in 1985 by Bill Easton and his wife Jane. Bill Easton's a very historical figure in the world of wine in California. He's one of the original 4 Rhone winemakers that started in that era, and the other 3 would be Bonnie Doon, Randall Graham, Robert Haas at Tablas Creek and down in Paso Robles, and then Bob Lindquist down in Santa Barbara at Coupe Winery. So those are the 4 kind of originating wineries that got Syrah, the other great Rhone grapes in the ground and had success with them.
So this is it's soft, but it has that very distinctive acidicness of the Viognier, and goes down very nice. Really nice, very, very, very.
Thank you. Very round, chewy, textural kind of grape. Beautiful aromatics. One of the most aromatic white grapes you'll ever come across. When you grow it at alpine heights, it gives this nice, beautiful white flower kind of component. But good Viognier will exhibit kind of flavors of stone fruits. So you'll get a lot of the like peach and nectarine, apricot kind of flavors. So kind of the same texture as a Chardonnay, but a completely different flavors. Chardonnay will show pear, apple kind of flavors. This definitely shows more of that peachy, apricot-y nectarine.
And it certainly comes out, doesn't it? Yeah.
I was gonna give him this. Oh, I didn't.
I didn't see that either.
Actually, and as they all know, we're very informal here. These are all unscripted, so we kind of go with the flow.
Real
So
life.
our next one that we're going to show here, another, I'll let you pour too if you don't mind, is our Grenache Blanc. So another white Rhone grape. You see this quite often in the southern Rhone, but another place you'll see it in the world is in Spain in a place called Priorat. And even though we lean toward making Rhone grapes very Rhone-like you would see natively in the Rhone Valley, this wine, because of the vineyard site, tends to lean a little bit more toward the Spanish version of that. We try not to get in the way. We let the vineyard kind of speak and do its own thing, and we're very vintage specific, so we let the vintage kind of dictate. We're not trying to put our signature stamp on the wine. We want the vineyard to shine through. So this wine typically acts a little bit like a big, rich, structured version of a white Priorat that you would see from Spain. So Grenache is a really great translator of place. Riesling is a great translator of place. If you try Rieslings, you feel like you're tasting the place that it was grown in. Well, Grenache Blanc is a little like that too. It is not light like Riesling. It's very structural and rich like the Viognier we just tried. But you can see by the color of it, it's got quite a bit of gold in it. And that's kind of natural with that grape. It's a really, again, almost red wine and white wine clothing. So it's going to have all this mouthfeel. And if you had this warm and you couldn't see the color of the wine in the glass, you'd almost feel like you were tasting a red wine. So it's kind of a bridge. It'll go with a lot of different foods that you would think that red wines would go with. So it reaches across the table to so many different applications. But really high in acid, where Viognier is low in acid. This is much higher in acidity, and just has all these wonderful kind of nutty kind of flavors. And it has this nice salinity to it, almost saltiness to it, and really good Grenache Blanc exhibits.
Delicious.
And the unique thing about this wine, this is one of our library vintages. This is a 09. And so it's a 13-year-old white, and it's still got plenty of life. This wine could age quite easily for another 10 or 15 years.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that nice that kind of salty kind of complexity in there is going to go great with seafood applications. Really, really well, especially rich ones. Okay, next wine is, let me reach across right there, is Rhone, also another white Rhone grape. That's it. Yes, absolutely. It is even richer than the last two grapes in some cases. Is this your glass?
That's my glass right now.
So,
I can pour a glass.
please.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So Rhone is even more closed in its use. It almost takes almost twice as long in some cases as the Viognier to open up. So, and we like to see at least 5 years of bottle age on our Rhone before release. But in a lot of cases, we'll wait 7 or 8 years to release this wine. This is a library wine. It's the 2010 vintage. It's going to have almost this kind of nutty, almost oxidative component to it. It's a little on the nose like sherry, like if you had a really good Fino sherry from Manzanilla in Spain. So it's got this really pretty kind of aperitif kind of nuttiness to it. But this is a very serious textural wine that would go with a lot of richer foods, and it'll reach across to foods that say like pork or things that you'd think normally a red wine would go with. Chicken, amazing with this, but it's all about texture with Rhone. It is very, very chewy and mouthfeeling. Low in acid, like Viognier. That's why we grow it up high elevation again to kind of hold on to a little bit of this.
Well, Les, I gotta tell you, Rhone's one of my favorites, white wines.
It's a unique grape. It really is its own flavor profile. I like to tell people it's got, like we're talking about Viognier, it's got the same kind of texture that Chardonnay is, but none of the same flavors.
That's fantastic. That's amazing. That's just fantastic. Okay, and you know what we're doing? We're gonna vote on these wines. We're gonna see. We're gonna take a vote and say which ones we like.
Well, you have to take my vote out of it because you know they're all going to be a thumbs up on all of them.
No, that's
You
okay.
got to take.
That's okay. You can count too.
You take my opinion with a grain of salt. So the next one we are going to try is our Zinfandel. So we have two labels. Terre Rouge label is the label we use only for our Rhone style grapes. Easton, which is the family name, is what we use for non-Rhone grapes at the winery. So we're very famous in the Sierra foothills for Zinfandel. We have some of the oldest Zinfandel plantings in the entire state. And Easton is what we put the Zin and any other non-Rhone grapes under at our winery. So this is 100% Zinfandel, and it's kind of a very historic wine. It's in a style that you don't see as often in California. In the 90s and 2000s, Zinfandel got bigger, it got richer, it got riper, and it's a little bit the grape's fault because it really does have a great success rate in really warm areas. You can plant it in really hot climates, and it'll actually make very delicious kind of fruity style wine, but it won't have any structure. It'll be all fruit. It'll be a little bit kind of top heavy, just very, very much all primary fruit. And that style was incredibly popular for almost 25 years and still popular to this day. But the style that you saw previous to that a lot was the old claret style Zin or mountain Zin that this wine is. So we're at high elevation, so these mountain Zins are going to have a little more structure, not just all fruit. It's going to have tannin and acidity kind of built in, and that means the wine will age. It's got the three components you need to age in that: fruit, tannin, and acidity. They all balance each other out. So the vintage of this, which is our kind of our entry levels in, is 2015. So it even benefits from a little bit of bottle age, kind of sands all the edges off of it. The wonderful thing about Mountain Zin, it tends to be a little bit more red fruited rather than just all dark fruit. It exhibits red, blue, and black fruit, but it mostly leans on that red fruit. So they'll have raspberry, cherry, pomegranate kind of components, a little cranberry in there, and this wonderful note of sage. Mountain sage. If you drive through the Sierra foothills, you're going to see wild sage growing everywhere up there, and we believe it's part of our terroir, and it really affects wine. But if you taste anybody's Zinfandel, not just ours up there, any of our friends up there, you're going to get this top note of sage in all the wines, which that plus the red foodiness is going to be a little bit more food friendly. And most Zinfandel, since it's so big and rich and high in alcohol in some cases, it really kind of destroys the food you're having. It's hard to have with food unless you're having something powerful and smoky like a barbecue of some sort. So this style will definitely be more food friendly and have more applications.
I don't know. I think it'd be great with all kinds of. I think it's great with all kinds of food. Even just appetizers.
Absolutely. It's just a lighter style. It's gonna be in the background. It's gonna be there to support the food rather than kind of dominate it. And one reason this wine is so good, it's a blend of several different vineyards throughout Amador, but in kind of a Bordeaux mentality, we can take our really good plots, our single vineyard Zinfandels, and we can declassify them down into this bottle. In other words, what I mean by that is when you're making like a single vineyard, and this next wine is going to be that, we'll take only the best fruit for that program, and anything we think that's not that wine or doesn't fit that program, we can kind of push that aside in these barrels and kind of figure out what to do. It's still really high quality fruit. It's just not fit the program we're doing for the single vineyard. So we can take that wine and put it into our less expensive bottlings, making that bottle much better and higher in quality. And that's one wonderful thing about being a small family winery. You can actually make decisions like that, and you can declassify it rather than having to sell the fruit off. So anything that we don't think fits that program, even that can be sold off in bulk and won't be used in our wines because it wouldn't represent the wines we're trying to make.
And I gotta tell the club right now, the price point on this is unbelievable. You will not find another Zin out there of this quality with the price point on this Zin.
Again, the economics of our area kind of working for you in California. Coastal California has so much more expense than our area. I mean, wonderful values out there. So the next wine that we are going to try is this one right here. Is our single vineyard Zinfandel. This is a pretty special ancient vine spot. So this is the Easton Rinaldi Zinfandel Old Vine bottling. It is a vineyard that was planted in 1865. So these vines are upwards of 157-year-old vines, so very ancient, still producing. And it's just kind of a revelation, the fruit from this vineyard every year. It's unlike almost any Zinfandel you probably ever had. These old vines give you so little yield. You get less than a ton per acre in the center of this vineyard, the oldest block of it. It's almost not worth making because you get so little. But we make a few cases a year. This a little less than 200 most years. And again, just one of the most elegant, nuanced versions of Zinfandel. Those are usually words not reserved for Zinfandel because it's can be a big and bruising kind of wine. But this is definitely more delicate, kind of chiseled version of what Zin can be. And just
And I heard there are 200 cases.
little some years a little more, a little less than 200. Yeah.
Well, guys, Butler Pantry.
No, is there a reason that the yield is low? Is that just as they get older, the grapes produce
Absolutely.
less?
Wonderful question. So grapevines, as they get older, tend to produce less fruit, but of higher quality, more concentrated fruit. That's why old vines are so valued worldwide. It becomes very expensive to make stuff just out of old vine material. So you don't see a lot of old vine fruit turned into bottles without blending in some at least younger fruit. But you can make small runs in cases like this of the old vine stuff that's going to be incredibly high quality, and actually, because where we're at, you can actually afford to drink it.
Now, those vines, you said some of them are over 100 years old.
157-year-old, yeah.
Did they, if you started your vineyard in 85, did they bring them in from somewhere else, or did they?
No, owned by a family that's been farming these for several generations back. Our area was founded right after Gold Rush, or doing Gold Rush, and a lot of Europeans came to the area. There were miners, and they didn't have any things from home like grapevines or olive trees like that, but they saw what an agricultural paradise our area was. And with all the Europeans working in the gold mines there, the Italians that came to settle there, you saw a cottage industry. So there's plenty of Europeans here. They'll probably drink some wine. So they brought stuff from the old country like olive trees, plums, walnuts, and of course grapevines, and planted them. We became kind of a commercial wine region there early on. So some of these things got established in the 1850s. We know Zinfandel got in the ground in 1852 there. And kind of the rest is history. Growers in that area up till now that you can source this from. So we know the family that grows this, and we buy their fruit from them. And that's the case of a lot of wines in that area. You'll have all these great old vine producers that you can purchase fruit from. And we go back almost, in some cases, close to 40 years with these agreements with these great old families.
I finished mine. It's great.
Continuing on, if you want more, pour yourself some more. Be my guest.
I don't think you'll be able to pour by the time you get to the end.
Oh, we'll
Maybe.
be fine. We'll be fine. We're professionals.
So our next one is almost a personal favorite of mine. This is our Syrah. So I'm a Syrah lover, and this is our kind of entry-level version of a Syrah, but it's far from that. Our Syrahs, or at least all of our kind of entry-level wines are made like reserve-level wines. So this is what we call our affordable Syrah. This is a blend of 96% Syrah co-fermented with 4% Viognier, so the grape from the first bottling right in there. We add a little bit of that. Actually, the white grape is giving a lot of texture in the wine. It gives you this beautiful aromatic profile. So this is what our area, I think, besides Zinfandel, does really, really well. Syrah excels in the Sierra foothills, and if you're a Cabernet drinker and you haven't picked up Syrah and putting it in your arsenal, you need to today. You're doing it wrong if you don't have Syrah in there too. If you enjoy the textures and the flavors that Cabernet gives you, Syrah provides that, and it has this kind of spicier profile. It's got a high ceiling like Cabernet Sauvignon does, and it's just an amazing grape that provides so much. If your food has a grill mark on it, you need Syrah in your life.
So Wes, I took this bottle home, opened it up to try it. You know, I looked over, it was gone.
Who did that at your house? Did you look around? Oh, just you. Okay.
Where
I thought there were more people at your house.
Where did it go?
Yeah.
It went right down, and I know it was gone. It was
Well, I didn't
gone.
mention it's pretty easy to drink, and this is
I call easy to drink.
I call it kind of our affordable version, or kind of our entry level, but it is kind of our everyday version of Syrah. So we're crafting it like that, but it still gets the same amount of love as the single vineyards like that Rhone. It gets all the same amount of care and thoughtfulness as all those wines, and the same amount of bottle aging. So this is a 2015, so even the entry level wines get that amount of bottle aging on there to kind of sand all the edges off of that structure, where when you sit down and drink it tonight, it is perfectly ready to go. Now, they're legendary for how much longer they'll age, because Sierra Foothills kind of gives it plenty of structure to go on the long haul, but we're not going to release it without at least a little bit of bottle age to kind of get it where it needs to be. And that's kind of Bill's gift to the world of wine.
So Wes, you need to read my review on that Syrah.
I will, absolutely.
Yeah, because
but I think I just heard it.
No,
You
because,
drank the whole bottle.
Yeah, because saying it's easy to drink is an understatement.
Okay. We think of that bottle as the best affordable domestic Syrah that comes out of California, hands down, every year. There's really nothing in that price range that really competes with that one in my mind.
Is that this one here?
Yeah, yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah,
It's
Bill-
really good.
Bill,
Could I have some more?
yeah, absolutely. You're good.
Oh, this is Jeff, by the way.
Hi, Joe.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Say this all goes on.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You got here just in time for Syrah.
That's
all
perfect.
right.
George, there's a glass up in the cupboard.
I'm fine, thank you. I'll just take a bottle.
He says that now, but he'll be in here.
So the
Got this one right here. Right here.
I drink right from the bottle.
the fun thing about this bottle is we're going to try two of our single vineyards next to Syrah, and they're incredibly high quality. They're some of the best Syrahs in California, but when you taste it right after tasting the little inexpensive, it kind of shows how good this wine is and how well it's made, because there's not a ton of drop off. I mean, definitely the next two bottlings are amazing, but that little bottling, we want to impress you with our entry level bottle. We know that's going to touch more people, and Bill really does make his all of his wines, but especially that Syrah, especially good.
And that entry level Syrah is, the price is just out of this world. You just can't imagine that. It's really great.
So we do 3 single vineyard Syrahs that we source from, and we're going to taste 2 of them right now. This one is called DTR Ranch, and that stands for Domaine Terre Rouge Ranch, and that's a vineyard that we own. Bill's house, Jane's house, is right in the middle of the vineyard there, so his boots are in this vineyard almost more than anywhere else. It's in Fiddletown, which is the coldest AVA we work with, so it's a kind of cool climate Syrah. We find that cool climate Syrahs, all of our Cedar Foothills wines are cool climate Syrahs, but especially this one, tend to bring out the side of the grape that we really enjoy the most. Syrah is definitely fruity, and that's the obvious point of it, but the kind of interesting X factor about Syrah is all the things that it's not in fruit, all the savory side of Syrah. So like the spice, the black pepper kind of note, kind of this meatiness, almost this bacon quality, sanguine quality to bloodiness in there. Just everything that's not fruit. It makes this wine so much more interesting and build off of it. It's so complex. And this wine from DTR Ranch is a little bit more from a volcanic soil type, so it's going to have this deep minerality to it on top of that.
And you know what the key word on that was? The key word was
Bacon.
bacon.
Always good.
Michigan bacon.
Is this the bacon one? I want to try the bacon one.
Well, you better hurry up.
I'm ready.
Look, you're late. You're gonna get done. I'm sorry. You're in trouble.
Yeah, this almost meaty quality to the wine. But around 300 cases a year is all we make of that wine in most years, and all three of our single vineyards. That, by the way, is a library version. This is the 07, so 15 years old. Still going strong.
How fast do you sell out of this? I mean,
We're
can we get in on it?
absolutely can. It can, and we're not. We're a little weird as a winery goes. We're not trying to sell out of our wines. We have an extensive library program that we basically after bottling we take some of it and put it in the library, and it's never seen for many years. And then
Drink it for yourself. I
well,
see. You just gotta hoard it for yourself.
we have to work part of this back. And then the wines that we do keep to sell, we release them when we're ready to release, and we're not in a hurry to sell those things out because eventually, if they don't sell out, we're going to release another vintage, this Fantastic 2, and what's left over, we're going to fold into that library, and it's going to sit there and age and get better and better and better. That's kind of our whole intent, more of a kind of fully formed European style winery where the intent of it is to get to that beautiful bottle-aged savory component that you can't get to any other way.
It's just a nice library.
Yeah, absolutely, going back, all the way back into the 90s.
So you hear that, club? You better get in here and put your orders in. Okay?
And our distributor here in Michigan is very supportive of our library. Always usually has a nice little collection of them. So they're
We have the best distributor ever.
thanks. So our final wine is another one of our single vineyards, and this is called High Slopes. This is the highest two vineyards we work with in the Sierra Foothills. Both vineyards are at 3,200 feet. They basically face each other over kind of a canyon. One at 3,200 feet, the other one at 3,200 feet. And one of the vineyards is actually called Oso Loco. So that translates to crazy bear. So these vineyards are so high up that we harvest the grapes in about October, and we do a thing called green harvesting in some cases. In other words, where you drop part of the fruit to concentrate the fruit in the rest of the bunches. So there's fruit laying on the ground in October. The bears cross through going to hibernation, usually about November, December-ish, and there's fruit laying on the ground. It's been there for about a month, and in some cases it's fermented. The bears come along, nibble on it, crazy bear. So that's how high up and wild these vineyards are, and in some cases the fruit gets attacked by birds up there, so we have to put basically this tenting over it. It's almost a 5-acre net tenting that takes about 5 days to set up. And it's so isolated, if you didn't have that there, the bears and the birds would basically come through and ravage your fruit during harvest. So we have to do that to leave it because it's so far up and hidden up in the mountains there. The wildness that you get from this vineyard kind of shows up in the glass. So again, going back to all the savory components we love about Syrah, this one shows that in every dimension. It's definitely kind of Co-Rôti style. Co-Rôti, very famous plot in the northern Rhone that is synonymous with Syrah. That style of Syrah is a little bit more skin and bones, a little bit more muscular, very ageable. That's what we're trying to emulate with this one, but it kind of does it all on its own from those two really high elevation vineyards with that kind of wild streak in it. But one of the best Syrahs we make, one of the best Syrahs in the state of California.
And how many points is this, Syrah?
We get really high ratings for
Yeah.
all the ones. So guaranteed, whatever you get is going to get really high ratings. So I'll let you look up those yourself.
Oh, is that the 100?
I don't want to. It's not the 100. We've gotten a high score like that a couple of times, but this wine does score quite high. All the wines get quite well
Oh, it must be
reviews.
close to 100.
I'd give it 100.
All we need your
All
recommendation.
my crew gives everybody 100.
There goes the curve.
This is 110.
110, you got that?
Yeah,
We have a new
it's
scoring-
just getting better all the time.
We have new scorings in Michigan.
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah.
Hopefully they go 150 or more.
Well, that is excellent. Excellent.
Well, thanks for letting me taste through all the wines with you. And a pleasure to talk.
Thank you for coming in.
you.
And right now, we actually have our guests want to thank you too. Stephen Edie, Julia, selfie afterwards, Elvis Jr., and are you going to go over there, Greg?
You gonna play?
I think not tonight.
We'll cut that out of the video.
I'll leave it there.
You put me on the spot.
Oh, I do my Indeed. Okay. Anyway, there was no song tonight, guys. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. And as always, at 350 Wine Club, we want to give you value. There's no membership fee. All the wines here, we try. So you know they're going to be good. There's no guessing. And when you're here, you have all these other products in the store that you're going to love. So have a challenge. We should just be, you come in here and this weekend, April 30th, is Saturday, right? 1 to 3, Terre, Rouge wine tasting. So get in here, try the wine, and we're going to show them, we're going to sell the heck out of his wines. Okay,
They're
thank you.
very, very, very good.
Very, very
very
good.
good.